What Canadian city has the most hummingbirds on the Christmas bird count? The answer is coming right up on Twits and Pishers, the bird-watching show.
Fellow birders, well, it's Christmas bird count time again. You know the old carol. Last year we were at the Edmonton, Alberta Christmas bird count, which has more people than any other Christmas bird count on Earth. A record of 1,200 people participated in one of those counts. And this year we are in Victoria, British Columbia, where they find more species of birds than any other count in Canada. There are about 200 people who are involved in this count. So, you've got to figure if they find more species of birds than anyone else, this must be the best place to go birding in Canada in the winter. Just makes sense. So the birders of Victoria are ready for us. The birds of Victoria are ready for us. Let's go see what this place has to offer.
Victoria, the capital city of British Columbia, is situated at the southern end of Vancouver Island, giving it a relatively warm climate and a tremendous variety of bird life.
This is the Martindale Valley, and the bottom is called the Martindale Flats. And if the Victoria Christmas Bird Count Circle is the best place for birds in Canada in the winter, this is the best place within the circle. A couple of years it's produced more than 100 species on the Christmas bird count. Now there are 4 very keen birders scouring the area right now, and I'm going to meet up with Hank Vanderpol. We'll see what sorts of waterfowl we can locate here, and we might even see a Eurasian skylark.
Birders enjoy the Martindale Flats, but so do falconers, and the jesses trailing from the legs of this peregrine prevented us from officially counting it, although there were plenty of other interesting birds nearby.
Well, there's one swan here. Hank, is that a trumpeter swan for sure? I can't quite tell.
Yes, that's a trumpeter swan for sure. It's you're looking at a fairly large bird with a thick neck and a heavy body, and of course the bill is somewhat distinctive, although that's sometimes hard to tell. But the most common swans here are the trumpeter swans, and that's one.
You occasionally get a few tundras mixed in with them, don't you?
Yeah, occasionally we get 1 or 2 tundras, mostly when they start migrating or start to come in here. But we do have them occasionally. I don't see any there right now.
Now there's a couple more birds just popping out of the ditch here.
Yeah, I guess they must have been hiding in the ditch.
I thought there was more than one out here. Do you ever get mute swans here?
Not in the Martindale Valley, because they don't seem to like these flat areas, but we do have them around the Victoria area, and there are certain parts like Esquimalt Lagoon where they're fairly common. They do breed here, but not right here.
So most of the time they'll count 3 species of swans on the Christmas count?
On the Christmas bird count, we usually have 3 species of swans, yes.
Not bad. I guess the waterfowl then in turn attract raptors too, don't they?
That's exactly what happens. You get a lot of ducks coming in here, and that attracts the peregrine falcons. Sometimes we have a gyr falcon here, but certainly every winter there are at least 2 or 3 peregrines hanging around here, attracted by the ducks. And of course that attracts some of the red tails and bald eagles sitting over there.
Excellent. Well, this is not bad at all. I wonder how your colleagues are doing. If we're creeping up toward the 100 mark here or not.
I would think we're getting close to the 100 mark by about now. It's past, we're almost getting to about noon, so I would think we're getting close to the 100 mark.
Traveling birders often visit the Martindale Flats for a chance to see the Eurasian skylark, since this is one of the very few places in North America where they have been successfully introduced. Skylarks do, however, have an irritating habit of remaining either high in the sky, of all places, or hidden among the stubble on the ground. Hank could spot them low down, but I couldn't. Much like the familiar horned lark in habits, this population of birds is probably going to dwindle to extinction sometime soon, which won't bother those who feel that introduced species shouldn't be here in the first place. In the last few years, the estuary of the Gold Stream in Gold Stream Provincial Park has been cordoned off so that birds can come and go without disturbance to feed on spawned-out salmon and salmon roe. Most of these birds are gulls. Glaucous-winged gulls predominate, and we'll come back to the perennially fascinating topic of gulls in a moment. Eagles also visit this area, and although you can find bald eagles throughout North America, the birds here will give you a closer look than those in most other places. About 140 bald eagles were hanging around the estuary during our visit, and their powerful bills do a wonderful job of opening salmon carcasses so that the gulls and northwestern crows can feed on the leftovers. The trees here, mostly cedars, are so big they make the eagles look tiny. And upstream from the estuary, along the Gold Stream itself, you can walk and bird among forests unlike any others in Canada.
Well, you know, one of the trickiest things to do on the Victoria Christmas bird count is to sort out the gulls, and especially the Thayer's gulls and the Glaucous-winged gulls, particularly the hybrids between, could you keep it down there, gulls? Between the Glaucous-winged gulls and the western gulls, which look almost exactly like Thayer's gulls. Now, I'm here with Dave Fraser and Brian Gates, and these two fellows are excellent gull watchers, and they're going to convince me that we can tell these two types of gulls apart. Now, what about this one out here? Is that, it's a young gull. It's what, a first winter gull, but which species do you think?
Well, I would call that a Thayer's gull.
Yeah, I'll agree. This is a young Thayer's gull. Notice the very narrow or thin bill on this bird. It's fairly long, but it's not wide and deep like that of the Glaucous-winged gulls around it.
And then it's got very long primaries, so they extend well past the end of the tail and a sharp point. And it sits more buoyantly in the water, more like you'd expect a mew gull.
So we're really not looking for any features of there's no color blotches or anything like that. We're just looking at shape and general robustness.
And there's a general warmer tone to the colors.
Oh, the warm tone.
The warm
okay,
tone.
I missed the warm. Hold on one sec. I gotta check the warm tone here.
It's good to bring a whole group of people down here and get a bunch of different opinions too. And that's what'll happen every time.
One per gull.
Yes, that's right.
more gulls, more opinions than gulls.
And you've had glaucous gull down here in the last little while?
Glaucous gull, Glaucous-winged, Thayer's, Western, California, Mew, and ring-billed. Yeah.
Excellent. Boy, what more could you ask, especially in midwinter?
That's right.
That's right.
For a prairie boy like me, it's heaven.
Man, you know, sometimes it's really soggy here in British Columbia. You know, when birders get together for the Christmas bird count, one of the first things they do is they eye up each other's binoculars. And you start to recognize that established birders almost always carry some sort of top-of-the-line roof prism model of binocular. In fact, I've never seen so many people in one place carrying exactly the same binocular, the ones I use, the Bosch & Lohm Elites. If you don't have these sorts of binoculars yourself, especially if you're just a beginner, you might wonder what you're missing out on. And the truth is, there's nothing about these binoculars that you can't get, in some sense, in the other models, especially the, you know, the wider poro prism models or the compact models, but it all comes together so nicely in the roof prisms. The optics are really sharp. They feel good in your hands. At least I find they're more comfortable. They're well engineered. And are they a status symbol? Well, I don't know if it has anything to do with that. What do you think?
Well, you have to think about the fact that it's Christmas time. We're in Canada, and I'm here with Margaret and Rob, and they have bird feeders in their yard, and we're looking at an Anna's hummingbird. Now this is absolutely incredible. How long have you had the Anna's hummingbirds here?
I think 25 years anyway, but they've increased over the years. We started out with one, I think, and increased to 4 or 5 nowadays in the wintertime.
And you have about 4 of them coming to the feeders now?
Yes, 4.
First,
Been 2 females last week.
They're beautiful birds, and this one is singing too.
Yeah.
It's putting on a little courtship display, isn't it?
Yes. The cold, if it does get cold, they go into like a low metabolism, you know.
Oh yes.
Yes.
And I imagine it does get cold sometime.
We did once, didn't it? It did once. Yes. But I was telling you earlier that when it was very cold and my husband held the feeder, the little female came and fed from his hand, the feeder.
Is that right?
Yes.
So do you think they recognize you?
I don't think so. They're just... Keep still. You can get very close to them. You know, they'll come quite close to you. And they move away. But
They don't seem to be frightened. They're not frightened of the dog.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not a very frightening dog. No offense. Very lovely dog. Our next objective on the Victoria Christmas bird count was to find some Eurasian wigeons in Beacon Hill Park. This duck is extremely rare in North America, but increasingly common in this particular urban setting. Unfortunately, they all seem to be hiding during our visit, and sorting through all of the resident American wigeons and mallards was no easy task. Beacon Hill Park also has a population of mute swans, an introduced European species that is now self-sustaining and in all respects wild despite its preference for city parks. This is a beautiful western gull here, Hank, but I thought we were supposed to be able to walk right up to the Eurasian wigeon in this park.
Well, that's what I was told, and that's what I thought. Usually they're fairly easy to find in here, but we were both looking, weren't we?
And they float. I mean...
And they float, and...
you can't sneak past them while they're underwater.
And doesn't the male have a red head or a reddish?
Does, yeah.
And we had 4 pair of eyes looking at him, for them, and I didn't see any.
This is pretty typical of Christmas bird counts, isn't it? I mean, probably they have been counted, but
they have been counted. Yes.
On bird counts too, where people see the same bird day after day after day after day, and then you go out on the bird count and they're not there.
And then, well, they're not there right now. I mean, we didn't see them anyway.
Well, you sure get a good chance to look at lots and lots of American wigeon here.
Oh, lots of those. Yes, this is the park for American wigeons, no doubt about it, and mallards, of course, because everybody comes here to feed them.
There's 2 things I really get a kick out of with these American wigeons. First, the fact that the field guides show the crown of the head white, and most of them are creamy here, aren't they?
They look certainly creamy, yes, that's true.
I think that can confuse some people about who haven't seen the Eurasian.
Yes, it does confuse people, and I'm not really and I think that in the wintertime that creaminess comes out a bit more than probably later on in the springtime.
Yeah, and they're not... I mean, when I first saw them, I thought, oh, maybe this is a hybrid. But it's not. It's just an American widgeon.
It's just an American
with
widgeon.
A creamy head.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. If you were looking at a hybrid, you'd be seeing some other kind of features that would look different.
Now, you get a lot of Eurasian widgeons here every year, don't you?
Not a lot. Not large numbers, if that's what you mean. 25, maybe 30 at the most in the whole area.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a large number compared to the American widgeon. But they are here every winter. We can find them either here or somewhere else. Why we can't find them here today, I have no idea what's happening here.
The other thing I like about the American widgeon, I'm pretty sure that's where they got the sound for a rubber duck. Because a rubber duck doesn't go quack, it goes...
That's right. That's right. Well, I didn't know you played with a rubber ducky still, but I had forgotten that, John.
If we had one, we could use it probably and bring in that Eurasian widgeon.
You think they would respond to that kind of a...
Oh, yeah,
If it's based on the
if you
American
paint them.
widgeon call note, though, then it might not come in.
No, you listen close to a rubber duck, and it's more like the Eurasian.
It's more like the Eurasian?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. It has nothing to do with the way you squeeze the ducky, then?
Oh, there's a technique thing.
Because I know you're good at technique. I mean, you've got all these little gadgets in your pocket, so...
Yeah, no, you have to practice, you know.
I'm surprised you didn't bring your rubber
Usually
ducky,
with them
actually. This little trip here.
Like all these pockets and no rubber duck.
Too many gadgets to think about, right? Yeah, I know what it's like.
Well, do you think we should just assume that someone else has counted these widgeon, that they are properly documented, and head off to Clover Point now?
I think that's a good idea. I think these birds have all been counted by the diligent birders who've been here today, and so, yeah, I think it's a good idea. Let's go to Clover Point before it gets dark.
Clover Point. And it's going to get dark. The days are short during Christmas bird
By
count
4
season.
o'clock, we're not going to be able to see a lot anymore
Yeah.
on a day like today, so
Let's-
I think it's a good idea if we head down there now.
All right, and we'll probably bump into that widgeon on the way back to the
Well, who
car.
knows? Who knows? We missed it this time.
All right, let's go this way.
All right.
Well, we started at the water and we're back at the water. It's getting a little cold too, isn't it?
Well, this time of the day, it's starting to cool off pretty good. Around 4 o'clock, absolutely.
This
Especially
is
here.
Clover Point, and it's a super spot for scanning for water birds of all sorts. What have we seen here, Hank? It's quite a list.
Yeah.
New gull, the
Harlequin ducks,
yeah,
hooded merganser,
both male and female.
Male and
hooded
female
and,
hooded
well,
merganser.
and the harlequin.
and a female red-breasted merganser over there.
Pacific loon. The Brandt's cormorant and the pelagic
Pelagic
cormorant.
cormorants. We saw some pigeon guillemots out there. We saw the little ancient merlet
Ancient
just off
merlet.
here.
There was a great blue heron hunting among the rocks
Fishing
here.
out here, that's right. And the shorebirds that were out just in front of us here on the
We have
side.
black turnstone, surfbird,
About 4 surfbirds, that's right. 2 Dunlin
and
in
Dunlin.
amongst them.
I mean, you know,
It's been really good here, actually, for the short time that we've been
it's
here.
fantastic. It's no wonder Victoria chalks up so many species every year.
If you're just standing here, you'll notice all the different birds keep flying by all the time. So if you stand here for a long time, you'll see all kinds of species that just fly by. It's just amazing.
Well, you were just talking to the team that was here earlier today.
That's
Did they
right.
do well?
They didn't see anything unusual, but they did well. They got most of the common species that we normally find here in the wintertime, but they didn't see anything sort of unusual. The ancient merlet out here is always kind of nice.
Still, just
To
seeing
see.
the usual things is unusual to me. I think that's excellent.
See a couple of pelagics going
First
by
rate.
here.
Well, you know, I think with the light fading, we've really run out of time to hit any other locations. Let's just stay here for the rest of the afternoon until the light's gone.
See what's coming by? Yeah,
Yeah.
you never know.
So here's my personal list for the trip. Not bad for a winter's outing in Canada. But as for the overall total, stay tuned for the wrap-up event. Every Christmas bird count has its own wrap-up tally tradition, and in Victoria the gang gets together at the end of the day in a church basement where they nibble on desserts, sip tea, and talk about anything but birding, since they want to save their best stories for their moment on the stage. The lists are checked and double-checked, and when no one can stand the suspense any longer, David Pierce calls the group to order.
Well, good evening, everybody, and extras. And I'd like to welcome everybody to the 1995 Victoria Christmas Count post-count gathering. And this evening we're going to be on television with John Acorn and the Twits and Pishers. John has a few words to say before we start. I hope everyone has very good stories for us. So I'd like to introduce John Acorn to say a few words, and then we'll get into it.
Well, I just wanted to say, first of all, that it's an absolutely wonderful pleasure to be here. The weather is so perfect. You have so many birds. You know, I don't know how many of you saw the episode of Twits and Pishers that we made last year around the Edmonton Christmas bird count. Which is, of course, the biggest Christmas bird count in the world. But we knew as soon as we did that we would have to come here the year following and chronicle the Victoria count.
Our area is Quicks Bottom, Observatory Hill, Viaduct Flats, and Prospect Lake. We did discover a new spot where we could look down by telescope into the Wilkinson Road jail. This was quite handy because we got our only good western gull. By the way, we ended up with one good western gull, 3 good Thayer's gulls, and 160 gulls that weren't good for anything.
Dave, no jailbirds?
No jailbirds. None visible, and I think they're not considered unrestrained, so you can't count them anyway.
We managed to find 76 species, which works out to about 2.5 birds a person. 76, by the way, was our highest ever count. Our youngest participant was 1 month old, rode around in a backpack. And our highlight, Gladys and myself, we locked our keys in our car.
As you can see, I didn't have time to change since I went out birding at 5 o'clock. Those owls, the only way to get owls is to dress up. I just come from a little bit of a gathering, and probably what we did here was set a new all-time record high for Canada for Anna's hummingbirds. In our unit alone, we found 30 Anna's hummingbirds. I believe that will be an all-time record high for Canada. How many others have been reported, roughly?
5 in Mackenzie Greaves' house.
Okay, so we're pushing 45.
3 in Beacon Hill.
Yeah, 40 to 50 Anna's hummingbirds in a Christmas count. I think that's an all-time high.
It's not really a highlight, but it was a very interesting thing that happened. We were near the water and near some D&D land, and we looked over the fence, and there, in a V of a tree, was a dead gull hanging by its neck. It had gotten caught in there. I couldn't tell what species it was because it was quite decomposed, but you could tell it was a gull. And so that was really an interesting thing. That's something that will stick with me anyways. I don't know if it's quite a highlight, but it was memorable.
Pretty good day.
Well, all in all, it was a pretty good day.
We had a great day.
So it was a pretty good day.
A good, average, pleasant day.
Well, I have the results, and Gladys, you were wrong. By 1. We had 148 species this year, which is our second highest total ever. For sure.
So there you have it, an excellent result, and as the friendly birders of Victoria are often wont to say,
So, until
Next time,
Happy birding.
Join us.
right here on Twits and Pishers.